Welcome to the Based podcast. We are doing it a little differently using a new software, so we'll see if it works correctly. But our boy here has got some news.
What up? Live from Nashville, it's Nick Bernard. There we go.
Hey!
What's up, man? Yeah, 3 hours away. Not too far, but
Nope.
we made the move. And dude, I've been like so tied up on just boxes and doing things, which is a good thing. But we've had a slight neglect of the base pod. So here we are. We're back. We're better than ever.
Unbelievable.
We're matching hats. It's just out of solidarity.
Yeah, we just wanted the Rep Kentucky. Next K is a little bigger. I'm a little jealous. I went with something more understated, but you know, that's how we go.
Yep. I like that hat though. It's nice.
I appreciate it. I actually went out and bought all Ebbett's field flannel or whatever it's called, Ebbett's hats. I was like, this is life changing for me. So I threw everything else away.
I love that. Are they like a summer hat?
They're wool, but I have not noticed it being like hotter than other things. Okay. And actually, this is kind of weird. Like sometimes like hats irritate my head. It's weird. Like if it's really like synthetic materially, and this has been awesome. Okay. My head has never felt better in a hat like this one. It's
like the Cadillac of headwear.
Exactly. I got a black one with the Kentucky like Wildcat on it, the old one.
Nice.
But now I'm obsessed. Now I'm a collector. So
yeah, I might have to get one of those.
I tried very hard to get a based crossover with Ebbett's hats, and they are no longer doing merch custom orders, at least for now. Somebody said they sold out. Not like sold out like their goods, but sold out as in like
metaphorically, like it's over.
Yeah. I hope that's not the case. I would love to do a run of based with the B on these. So stay tuned. That's what we're working on also. We're working on some merch behind the scenes.
Oh yeah.
We want to do something high quality and nice. And, I'm just trying to live long enough to see myself become a blues lawyer. So I'm almost there.
Talking with my buddy the other day about PRS bases, and I was like, hey, I didn't even really realize that they made PRS bases, but that's like the final boss.
We're going there already. It's been all 3 minutes, and we've made fun of dads. By the way, my wife's due date is November 30th, so it's all in jest, as in I'm excited to be handed my first pair of tube socks right after the baby comes out.
No, dude, it'll be awesome. Would you ever play the PRS bass?
Yes. Really looking at demos and stuff when I was just had time on my hands. What was that like? I thought they sounded really good. Now I've never played I've never played any of them. I really don't like the super flamed figured wood thing.
And they're like, what if it was like a green burst that goes into blue?
Right. Like not only do I not love how figured they are, but they're like, what if we put only colors that are at a car show on top of it? But not the cool cars, not the like 50s Fenders and the like square body Fords. It's like cars that bounce on their own as they go down the street. Yeah. Like Nickelodeon chic. We're gonna get industry blackballed for this. No, is that what it's called? Blackballed, or is that the wrong one?
Blacklisted.
Blackballed is painful.
Dude, I don't know. The PRS thing. Don't love the look of them, but you know that I don't like. I like the candy paint, one color.
Yeah, love it.
I like eggshell white. I like the blush pink. I like Daphne blue.
Yes.
I like the racer green.
Yes.
I like that. But past that, I'm just like, I'm kind of quirky about finishes. I don't own a burst. Besides my J45, I really don't own bursts at all.
Your P-base.
So that's not a burst.
Oh yeah.
It's like that lava tortoise guard. I don't have a thing against burst. It's just I don't gravitate that direction, right? Like as far as paint goes. So the PRS, I'm already up a hill. Now, what I will say, one of the best guitars I've ever played was a PRS, but it was their take on like the double cutaway old school Les Paul thing.
Mm.
And it was like, it's pretty nice, dude. I couldn't tell you what it was called. Look, long story short, in jest, I can make fun of the PRS bass for the aura that it has. But I bet it's honestly probably pretty all right. Like, I bet it sounds great. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it certainly belongs in a museum.
I've never seen one in human, honestly.
I'm not sure they make them. It's just AI.
It's AI. Yeah, PRS.
Yeah.
It's just a dystopian chat GPT creation.
Yeah. I mean,
that's funny, man.
That's what it leads to. Yeah. Okay. The PR. This is good. This is good. No, I like it.
We started too hot, and I was like, I got to backtrack. I did not need to come out against the blues lawyer.
You know, actually, is this relationship now more spicy now that we have this great distance between us? That usually we save all of our explicit talking right before the camera and right after. Sometimes with and without guests. It just depends. Right. But now we have to get it out on the camera, so that's great. And you know, my camera is inevitably going to freeze, so when that happens, you're just going to hear me, and we're going to act like it's fine.
Right. We're just going to keep rolling, and I'll just freeze as well.
Yeah, just pretend like you're frozen, also. But you know what? More people listen on audio anyway, so who are we? We're just outing ourselves. Okay, so you moved to Nashville, Nashville,
Nashville, Indiana.
And you have successfully picked up some Broadway shifts, correct?
Yeah, man. I've been playing on Broadway, doing the 4-hour guys and learning the ropes. It's great. It's been a fun time. Been singing some songs. Been playing the hits. It's every night's like hilarious. Just like this, just like there's obviously like your classic requests. Like you're gonna get a million Wallens. Like I think this is gonna sound like I'm making this up. I feel like every night. I've at least played When It Rains It Pours by Luke Combs once, but I'm pretty sure I've played it twice every night. Literally, we'll play it like we'll start with it, and then sometime 2 hours later, somebody's like, "Go to 20 on When It Rains It Pours," and I'm like, "Who am I but a man looking for cash?" So
like, with inflation, you're gonna need to make that a 50.
Yeah, no, no, dude, it's kind of crazy. I won't say where it was, but dude, somebody paid like good cash just to like sing with us, and I was like.
Yes.
Kind of screw the bar, dude. If they care or not, it's like they're holding the cash. And dude got up and sang Simple Man, and he did a pretty solid job. I mean, I was like, hey, money's money. I'm happy.
That's
about
at least
it.
100. That's 100 for me.
That was.
It was 100. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, Nashville.
Yeah. So it's funny what's going on, but then you'll get like these funny requests where people are like. Really specific and they don't really realize it. So this girl, she sat down and we were like, what do you want to hear? And she goes, Aeroplane. And I was like by the Chili Peppers? And she was like, yeah. And I was like,
you call yourself a bass player? Play it right now. Yeah.
I know it, but no one else in the band knows it. Most people don't know. I feel like this is such an overstatement, but like, I like the Chili Peppers quite a bit. I love that One Hot Minute record.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of,
wow,
Dave Navarro just got punched in the chest by Perry Farrell.
Yeah, yeah,
crazy.
This so just in.
I was gonna say, yeah,
Based goes TMZ.
Well, no, it's just crazy because Dave was on that record and like I just feel like no one ever talks about this record for the Chili Peppers at all. So I was like, okay, that's hilarious. And then she wanted Angel from Montgomery by John Prine. And I was like,
yes.
And she was like 22 requesting these songs. I was like, she's just hanging with her mom, just watching the band for a little bit. So
that's what I like to do, hang with my mom on Broadway.
Yeah. So sometimes you just been getting these like off the wall requests. So we're like, all right, well, give it a shot. So it's pretty funny, man. It's interesting. The rig state on Broadway changes place to place, but there's increasingly more places with no amps allowed, which is fine because like I'm not bringing a bass amp. I'm not carting it down, dude. Like I see
Yeah,
all these guys with the cart still, and I'm like, I respect that you want that tone, but anymore, man, I'm like, it's just not worth bringing it all down there to me. So, but a lot of these places are in here. So, like my main gig that I've been doing is it's all in ears. It's a tight stage, so I just put my little board down and roll, and it's totally fine. It's no problems.
yeah, that's kind of the interesting Nashville thing that some people might forget about is it's like uh well, I should maybe say Broadway, like more high foot traffic Nashville. The
Right,
PAs are really good. Like they're great integrated. Like even in your
right,
like crappier dive bar, you've got a nicer like what is it D&B PA? That's what's in basement
right.
east or basement and all that kind of stuff.
There's a bunch of those RCFs and like there's really interesting mid grade PAs, like a lot of
Yeah,
Meyer and all that. Like it's nice stuff.
Myers awesome. So like in a Lexington, Kentucky dive bar, honestly, most dive bars around the country, it's a QSC rig that a good old boy hung up
Yeah,
there, and so it is the rigless thing hurts less when the PA is really accurate and integrated
yeah.
well, and then they hand you in ears. So you have like really good isolation. You can hear what you're doing on your pedal board. That's a lot different than going, rigless at a very DIY dive bar.
Right. It's fine, but it's kind of nice because all these places will let you just hook right onto the Wi-Fi, give you the IP, and tell you just to like get on the Yamaha Mix app or MXQ or whichever one they're using, and you can just whip up your own thing. A lot of times, like the sound engineer will get you going and dip. Like they'll stay there for 20 minutes, do a couple songs, everybody gets a sound check, move on. Like everybody gets like a sound check song. So like, the guy that's fronting it sings one, and then I'll sing one. Drummer takes one, which is always fun, and then guitar player, and then sound guy will be like, or girl will be like, "You good?" And everybody's like, "Yeah," and then they just leave and
Deuces. I'm
just
going to do
yeah,
this
they
in
just
three other bars tonight.
make your money.
Yeah.
It's all interesting. It's been fun to like get used to the new rhythm. It's a completely different style of playing because when somebody's throwing down $50 to hear Misery Business, you're like, well, I'm gonna try
Let's
it.
take it from the top.
Yeah, I'm just like, so I did that this weekend, and then it's kind of fun because I've been like making my list of like songs that's like I know these songs, but I don't know the songs. So
Yeah.
a couple of weeks
Unexpected.
ago, yeah, yeah. A couple of weeks ago, for instance, somebody called Rosanna Toto. And that's a song I'm very familiar with sonically. I know where the song goes just because I've been listening to it for so long, but I've never sat down and learned that chorus. Like, it's like a quasi thumb slap part.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I got to like I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to sit down and put that on my list, sit down and learn it. I've got to learn like the full on bass line for the, Devil Went Down to Georgia. There's a kind of like a break where the bass starts walking, and I had to like learn. It's like a little pentatonic thing. Um, it's been fun. It's been a completely different style of playing than I'm used to because it is 100% just wing it and hope. And then even if it's terrible, you act like it wasn't. You finish the song and you move on. It's cool too
That's
because
good.
you like meet a bunch of people rapidly, but
Hmm.
it's weird because you really don't talk to them until you go on a break or like after the show. So like,
Are you talking about
well,
mostly like peers, like other musicians or people in
right,
the
right.
crowd?
No. Like the guys that you play with and the girls that you play with. Like, I'll show up and you might say, "Hey, I'm Nick," and then you get your stuff set and you start playing music.
Hmm.
And it's kind of weird because then at the end you'll be like, oh, okay, cool. So where are you from? Like, and you start like exchanging. So I'm like, I literally don't know these people and I'm playing with them. And so you almost feel like you like got to gain that rapport somehow. It's interesting. I feel like when you go into a gig and you already know the person, there's like a forgiveness and like oh, I'll help you. Or like you could level, you could say, hey, uh, sometimes I'm gonna want you to throw me the chords. Like sometimes just turn your headstock around so I can kind of see what you're doing. Or like, oh no, I can get through these. These are my ones that I usually do. And when you don't have that before, and you start messing up in the set, which is inevitable. Like it's like no one is ever going to bat 1,000 at when you're just literally pulling them out of your pocket. People are like screaming them. They're like holding their phone up and they put it on Snapchat and say, like,
that's the new thing.
Wheel.
Yeah.
Oh, it's insane. So, I've been kind of learning how to get around that like rapport of like, I don't know you and I want you to know that I'm like, I know what's up. I'm just like, it's kind of weird to go in without rapport with people. And then afterwards you're like, oh, yeah, cool. We get along. We got a lot in common. It's great. And then it's like 2:30 in the morning. You're walking down as they're cleaning the streets, and you're headed back to the parking garage. And you're like, oh no, this is great. Hope we play again. And then sometimes you don't see him.
And there he goes, the best drummer I've ever played with. I don't even know his name, and he just loaded all his stuff into a Ford Fusion, and I'll never see him again.
Dude, that's funny. Yeah, no, it's a whole new ball game. I've done 4-hour sets back home, but not done this kind of stuff where it is literally. And I thought it was going to be a lot of country music, and it is some country music. I've played or heard Mr. Brightside every day that I've been on Broadway.
Nice.
Playing or not playing, I have heard it at least once. I mean, it is just as standard as any Folsom Prison is.
Fascinating. Yeah, I mean, I guess it makes sense. It is the aging millennial that is, target demographic. Well, I mean, young bar-aged women typically, and the aging millennial is now fully realized in the streets, in the top 40 representation. Like we're very close to being able to get away with a full Killer's Wedding cover band. This was not possible 5 years ago.
Dude, have we developed too much?
Right. Well, we've just gotten too old. We're seeing the peak,
We're coming up on it. Dude, I will say, so one of the funniest parts of being in town is the Facebook Marketplace it's like, it's tempting every day. And there's a million shops with incredible used gear racks.
Yep.
Like you walk in and every guitar shop's full of like, dude, you just walk into Groon and they've got like custom shop 50 style, vintage 60s, whatever, 50s stuff. I mean, dude, they've got like Rick, custom shop, professional, like everything is just like perfect. All these sick vintage Gibsons, those big like semi-hollow guys that they used to make, and you're just like, nowhere else has access to this kind of stuff.
Yeah. The downside, like the name of the game is like they have to price them so high that anybody who is a musician passing through Nashville gets their chance to play a 60s Fender because someone knows they're going to come in. So they have to price it in such a way that they have some of them that just sit there like museum pieces, like reputation pieces.
Right, but when the price tag on a guitar is $25,000, like regardless, it's going to take the right buyer.
Yep.
I mean, even the difference between 10 grand and 25 grand, it's like, oh, that could be discounted for what it is, but it's still a $10,000 base. It's like, it's going to need the right client.
Yeah, that's a haggle price too. If they put 25 grand on something, that's a like, let's have a conversation if you're serious kind of price.
Oh yeah, because chances are your last name might be Bonamassa.
That's not my last name, but thanks for asking.
I don't know, man. It's cool though. I texted you that link the other day. I saw it come up, dude. I've been looking for like a larger than life rig, and I thought,
yeah.
There's only one larger than life rig, and it is an 810. And I've been looking for just any rig that came with a live-in case. Because sometimes these live-in road cases are like the price of the cab.
Yep.
I mean, dude, especially if it's not a standard size, like, I've got these Laney cabs. They're not standard size cabs. Even the 410 isn't like the same size as every 410.
Yep.
It's close. It's not the same. And, when you're getting a road case, it's like you're buying to protect. You want something that's correct and accurate, not like, it's close, or it fits, or, I added this piece of foam and now it's good. Like, you don't want that.
Because your intention is to keep it in a trailer for your band.
Yes.
Which literally is why it matters.
Yes.
It is in the road. Like, it has to be sucked in that case. It has to be packed right for it to make it for, the long run.
100%. So I've been looking, and I saw it pop up. I saw an 810, has never been out of the road case. The road case is in good enough condition, which I don't need a perfect road case. Again, that's the point of
it's
the
a
road
case.
case.
It's cooler if it's tattered up and stuff.
Dude, there was somebody selling one a few weeks ago or months ago that was a Leonard Skinner painted like SVT case. And I was like, that's sick. Like,
right.
It's just got the stencil on the side. So I'm like, that's cool. Those pieces even wash up down here, but this one washed up, man. It's like pristine 810. It's the classic. I love the Heritage, but it's the classic. It'll do the job.
Yeah.
It's got the look. It's got the feel. It's got that mid punch, and it's in that live-in road case. And they're thrown in a Portaflex, the small heads. I don't know if that's technically a Class D.
Yeah, PF 800. I had one of those for a while that blew up.
Sick.
The PF 800s had a way better track record than the PF 500s. There was something about the 500s that had a lot of problems, like from what I read on Talkbase and stuff, like a significant amount. But supposedly they got it way better on the PF 800. I made the mistake of buying one used, and like me thinking it was going to last forever, and it eventually blew up. But it sounded really good. It is Class D, but it's not nearly as lightweight as like the Venture series, the new things.
Right, which is what I love. And honestly, if I bite on this, I will just offload that one, the Portaflex,
the PF 800.
Yeah. And then I would throw in like basically just get into a Venture.
Yeah, so there's something I didn't mention to you. I mean, someone can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I think an 810 is biamped. I think there's separate inputs to the top 410 and the bottom 410. So you would have to have two cables. Not that really matters that much. Just thought I'd warn you. And I don't know if that one is new enough to have speak-on connections or if it has the big old 1/4 inch.
Right. I can't quite remember on this one, but dude,
I know that because I showed up at a backline gig, and I am increasingly untrusting of backline, especially if we're traveling to another city. Even if they're legit, you always show up, and if they're like, "Oh, we've got an Ampeg 810," but if they don't say they have an SVT with it, I immediately am a little suspect. So this particular one was a heart key head racked next to it with an 810. And of course, they forgot the biamp cable. So they were like, do you want us to power the top 410 or the bottom 410? Which, I picked top because I like it closer to my ears. But
right.
It was infuriating. So there's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Well, I'm in on it, and I think if it sits another day, I'm going to just message. I had to make sure it fit in my car. I thought it would be ridiculous to purchase something that I couldn't even move without a rental U-Haul, So I was like,
or a rental person to help you.
No, I'm not loading myself. I think it's 160 without the case.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's beefy. So whatever. It's called being a rock and roll dreaming boy. I just want to be rock and roll. So I'm like, well, maybe I manifested by this purchase. It's some lady selling it for her husband. She wants $800 for the both. And I was like, dude, great deal. But that says 2 things to me. 1, I think it is just priced low. And 2, people literally have no place to put these things. Like, it is a storage and transportation issue over everything else, which is funny because I know that's the age old, people go into digital and they get out of digital, and for these reasons of like just transportation and ease of use. But I mean, if it's got wheels, it lives in a trailer, you never take it out, I don't see the problem, man.
Yeah, I think it's cool. If you're in that position to have it and you want it, you should totally do it. Just to experience and like you're a better fully formed person on the other side of it. I've seen people almost regularly still sell them for $500, but the road case and the head being with it is pretty insane. So
that's the deal.
You got to jump on that.
Right. And I thought about just getting
before this episode comes out and somebody like Connor or something listens and grabs it.
I know I got to watch out. But yeah, with the case, it kind of really makes it an insane deal. I thought about doing just like a 610 and there was one for sales like a 610 and like the slip case, like a little padded foam kind of like for maybe it was like right at 500, and I was like, hey, that's a good deal. And then there was a 410 Heritage with casters on the back as well for like the same, right at 500 or something. And you and I both like those Heritage cabs, but it's kind of hard to like the fourth. It's like almost too small to actually push it as a dolly.
Yeah,
Like it
it's a very
becomes
awkward size.
yeah, whereas the 610 you can roll it pretty normally without like having like bend
Yeah.
over uncomfortably. So, I mean, regardless, it's really fun to bass amp shop and maybe I'll end up with it, maybe I won't, but eventually I do want that like extra rig. Like, when it's like, okay, I just need something huge because we're getting ready to do these like we're doing that tennis stadium that you did a while ago.
Uh-huh.
Credit
One, yeah.
Credit One in Charleston. We're doing that tennis
Extremely
stadium.
hot.
Oh, it's Charleston. That's their thing. Is literally like deathly heat and humidity. So that'll be cool. But
Yep.
we're doing that, and I just have a hard time. Like we did a couple weeks ago. I took my Laney rig is two pieces that are like the same size. So top is a 410 and the bottom is like a 115. And I took the 115 to do the Delaware State Fair a few weeks ago, and I put that there and I put my head on top of it, and I looked at it next to this. I mean, it's like a state fair. So, I mean, I think the place fit 10,000 people. There weren't 10,000 people there, but I mean, even if there's half that, you're still like, man, this looks tiny on stage. So I was like, I'd like to have that just next step up, just something that's takes up a little bit more room, moves a little bit more air on stage. So,
well, if it doesn't work out, you can just take all the speakers out and leave the cab for the effect.
There you go. Just like the wall of sound, get a couple of them.
Right, exactly. Ryan Adams, back in the day, pre-cancellation, he had a huge cutout of a Fender Princeton, like bigger than him, like a 10-foot cutout of a Fender Princeton behind him that I thought was the coolest thing. So that's what, if I'm making it to the big time, I want to have lots of cutouts of tiny amps as like cardboard cutouts behind me.
That's success is when you hide all your stuff behind a wall of fake amps.
Exactly. What like, somebody got in trouble for that. Was it like Black Veil Brides or something? Was that the controversy?
I don't know.
It was some like goth emo type band that got in hot water for having fake cabs. You're like, people get mad about this every 10 years. Who's going to be next? Olivia Rodrigo or whatever.
Yeah. I just feel like it's like a normal thing for these metal bands to just use. They're all on Ableton throwing pre-programmed like changes into fractals.
Yeah, you're lucky they're even playing half the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, dude, half of it's not anymore. But because it's all these like gated guitars and chopped up and stuff. It's like you have to like have some computer help to do this, or it's not going to happen. But yeah, I feel like they're all running digital like quads and fractals and helix and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. I can never say never, but I've decided to choose to not go that direction.
Not even as an option ever. That quad cortex is so portable.
Quad cortex is the first one that I've been like, I have a friend that's in a big touring band that has moved to quad cortex, who I guess you can do some kind of tone capture situation. Yeah. So he took his real SVT and 810 and Noble preamp or whatever and captured the chain and is reusing his exact, stuff on the road. That does interest me. I would be lying if I'm like, okay, I can put my bass through this API preamp right here. And then, through a string of other things and capture that. Yeah. Interesting. That helps, but
it gives you the option. I like having both because I've got my HX and I can literally just take that only if I want. I'm like, dude, that thing almost fits in my pocket.
Yeah.
It's just such a nice alternate direction. I'm not saying it's for everybody, but literally to have something that's got like interface capabilities. So you literally record headphone out so you can practice with it. You've got at least 2 outs, a lot of times more. Like my HX has technically 3 in and 3 out.
Yeah.
I mean, just to have stereo XLR built in on the quad, I'm just like, dude. And you can go, what is that called? You can go digital out and skip your analog or your digital to analog like back conversion. You could skip that by going, what is that? What's that called? You can literally just take it straight. No, well, yeah, you can kind of connect through USB. I'll remember it in a little bit, but there's a way that you can like literally just keep it digital and send it to like a digital console.
Interesting. AES. What is it? AES EBU. Something EEBU or something. I don't know.
I don't know.
All this fancy stuff.
Kids.
It's cool though. Quad Cortex, send me one and we'll talk. Maybe that's what I'll say because we know they're listening.
Yeah.
Dude, there's one thing we know.
Yeah, no, they're not concerned. They're not concerned with us. Enough about me. What are you up to, dude?
Oh gosh. Well, I'm in full dad mode. Right. Baby comes roughly November 30th, so we're
but you get that brand new big old bass amp situation.
Oh, baby. So context of some other stuff. I don't think I've ever like accurately framed it like this on the podcast. Found out wife is pregnant and I'm like, okay, got to make some gear changes here. I've had the 70s SVT. It is awesome. I had the Ampeg SVT 212 that they made to go with it, which is a really, really cool cab. Sounds insane, truly. And it's made to take the full power load of an SVT on top of it, which usually you'd have to do something like an 810. So you're like, wow, I could do a 212, fits in the van, no problem. What I liked about them and disliked about them at the same time as a moderately 5-string player, it kind of rolls off really high. I'm talking like, I don't think I'm crazy, but I think like 80. It rolls off at like 80 hertz. Maybe I should Google. In fact, I don't know. Maybe it's higher than that. I don't know. But it rolls off really high. Like they're trying to voice it like an SVT, like an 810. And an 810 doesn't have as much low end as you would maybe think. Especially like sub lows.
Right.
And part of that classic type sound is you don't get this crazy subsonic low. And so that's the Ampeg HLF or what, the Heritage 410s.
The Heritage.
All the ones that are ported have more low end than an 810, and that's intentional. And even the 610 is ported and has more low end. Right. And it's tonally different. It kind of has the 810 feel, but it has more low end. It feels like a different voice. So people, when they look at a 610 versus an 810, at least in Ampeg world, you're really looking at two different voices to go with the head that it's on. Sorry. All that to say, I was like, man, the SVT's been great. It has broken a couple times, had to get it fixed. British Audio in Nashville is awesome. JT Cure turned me on to them. Pretty expensive, but they did an amazing job, and they were even, hyping it up, and they were like, hey, I fix 3 SVTs a week, and like yours blows them all out of the water. We were showing people in the shop how much better this one sounds than this one and this one and this one, whatever. Which I was cool. And I never said, oh, you must say that to all the girls, but and then they're like, yeah, give me $1,500. But I also got it retubed. So it was a whole thing. Anyway, so I needed to make a change, and the SVT just wasn't cutting it in the van because I didn't have a road case. It was too heavy as it was. Because we, regularly you roll up to the venue and there's no ramp. And there's like, 2 stories of brick stairs or whatever. So I was just like, I just can't do it. And the cab kind of goes with it. And I had someone started selling it, and someone made an offer on both of them together, which was awesome. So unexpected. So I had a good chunk of change for it. Now I did still lose money, but ultimately, but I was like, okay, I got out of it, got to someone who's going to love it, who's into that kind of stuff, just like me. They're going to appreciate it. So I feel good. I didn't like crazy upsell the price of the 70s one. Certainly it was all very fair in my opinion. So gave me the opportunity to buy the Jad Freer stuff, kind of as a test thing. So I got a Sysma and I got the Minerva 212. And I think it might be the first 212 in the States outside of maybe the guy from Sublime, but he has he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's got 6 to 8 Jad Freer cabs on stage with him. It is a wall. It is crazy. So I was like, hey, I'll give this a try. I like the capo a lot. I like what I've heard about the Sysma. And I like things to match. I just like them to match. I don't like mixing heads and cabs that much. So tried it. Sysma came. Sysma sounds awesome. Really enjoy it. Kind of sounds more like the A side of the capo. It doesn't sound like the capo because there's a tube in it. It's different circuit, whatever. But the saturation in it is really smooth, which to me is like the A side. You almost are maxing out the gain on that side for it to sound what you would stereotypically consider slightly overdriven, in my opinion, because it's just so smooth. Whereas the B side on the capo is pretty aggressive from the get-go, and it's way more attack focused to me. So this sounds a little bit more to the A side. Almost sounds, and they say it's like the front end of a B15. After that, everything is different. It's not a B15 after maybe the front end. But really all that to say, it is reminiscent of that a little round type of sound. That is I'm the target demographic. So everything you hear on this channel about me gushing about this stuff, I am the target tonal goal that they are going for. And that's why I like the stuff so much, clearly. So Sysma was awesome. Got the cab, started bringing the cab out, and started to realize that I like the cab more than the head. There is something about the cab that is huge and loud, and it is accurate in that my overdrives and what I'm dialing in on my pedal board live sounds similar to what's coming out of the PA. A nice PA that I know is accurate. Whereas with the SVT and, a heavily colored rig that was behind me, I would be doing things to my pedal board to push the amp in certain ways or to get a certain tone out. And even if I kind of kept a cleaner loop, whatever, my tone in the house sounded a lot different than I was expecting.
Right.
So with this, it's accurate, but somehow, the Minerva series is classically voiced, which you would always assume is going to be Ampeg-like. It does not sound scoopy like some people accuse an 810 SVT situation to be scoopy, which also I don't super buy. But it is a little mid forward and a little has some sub to it without being. I would still consider it tight. It is somehow has a ton of bottom end, but it is tight. Well, you stopped by. You got to play it for a second when I was just testing it out at the beginning. What did you think,
dude? It was shockingly. Yeah, it's this is such a dumb word, but it's a rotund. The sound is just it's so full and it's so beefy, but it doesn't sacrifice clarity in a weird way, and you're confused by it because I feel you get in a room that's got a new banging PA with 10 floor subs and 5 up in the air, or crazy amount of low end help on the PA, and it just starts rattling the room, and it's sub for the sake of sub. It's boom. It's not it's not musical context. This is musical context low end. It's
just very usable.
It's so usable, and it's crystal clear, and it's still fat.
Yeah.
And the craziest part about all this is that we've literally not even been paid to say any of this. Like, all of this is off
I would
of,
love
like,
to be, just for the record.
yes. But, like, I mean, I play the capo every gig of my life now, which is great. I mean, it sees Broadway a bunch of times every week now, so it's cool. I'm like, it's getting out there. It's going out on the road this weekend to the tennis stadium in Charleston, and I'm just like, no one's paid me. I just love it that much. Like,
Yeah.
it's just that usable and good that stuff is. But that cab especially was just like,
the cab is banging,
wow.
dude.
Yeah,
It was really good, and the weight is just right. It seems like
you got a weight guy.
Yeah, well, you know, all about the weight. Actually, I'm 40 pounds down. Hey,
Yo,
so I picked it because it was 55 pounds. 55 pounds is kind of my comfortable limit at a gig for my cabs. I mean, I could go a little heavier, but it's 55 pounds. My pedal board case, you all who watch us have seen the monstrosity that is my pedal board. My pedal board case with the Sysma inside as well in a Pelican. It's also 60 pounds. So like I'm picking up at least 2 instances of 60 pounds in a row, and who knows how long the walk is and the steps and the whatever. So 55 is kind of my limit. It seemed like a Tim LaFave and some of the other guys have been using the 410s more, which they say is more PA accurate like. And so I was really nervous that I made the wrong choice, to be honest. And I'm over the moon with it. I'm super happy with it. And we had this residency at our local dive bar called the Green Lantern. Shout out. And I used my rig as backline for all the other artists because we would play, Abby Hamilton's who I play for. We'd play a little set, 3 or 4 songs as kind of a primer, and then we'd showcase other artists that we're into as special guests. And so my rig was the backline, and we dialed it in such a way that no bass went through the house. It was only through the cab. And I don't say this as a good thing because I was wearing earplugs and I will continue to wear earplugs, but my Apple Watch clocked almost 110 dB on multiple shows. And the Sysma was on maybe 45% master volume.
That is insane.
Yeah, and some people were using like 5-string Music Man basses, and like it would push the low end. Just when you go down low, and you're like, "Wow, it's actually helping me."
That's crazy.
It was really great. So, yeah, I'll have a video on it eventually. I'm still figuring out some little quirks that we've had. DHL certainly banged my Jad for your stuff around a lot. So I got to figure out the little quirks. But
it's a long boat ride from Italy.
This is true. Yeah. But I'm into it.
Nice.
We have had a like kind of behind the scenes relationship at this point with Jad Freer. Just like lots of email chains, lots of feedback on products and stuff because we're so into it. But we certainly don't have like some kind of weird situation. But I do want to make it clear that like when we talk about this, we talk to them and tell them also that we like their stuff. It's not just like whatever. I'll let y'all listeners know if it's an ad. It's not an ad. But yeah, that the Jad Freer stuff is pretty crazy. Definitely earn a spot on my board, especially the live rig. I'm really into it. And I did here's a good story. I played North Carolina Folk Festival last weekend and took the Jad Freer stuff. It was awesome. Sounded great. It was the first time we were doing this like hybrid acoustic-y thing. So it was bass drums, acoustic vocal. So we approached it all very organic-y, whatever, for lack of a better term, trying to not make it so much of a high energy rock show, which is a lot of fun. So I was like, wow, I haven't had an amp in a long time. One that has a DI on it because half my amps are old. But I haven't had an amp in a long time that I liked the DI generally, or, I can't say that. Using an amp with a DI, you're like, usually in that case, you're like, I don't know, as long as it doesn't suck and I don't notice it, it's probably fine. All that to say, from what I've heard on my own DI with just the Sysma, I've enjoyed it. So I decided I was going pedalboardless, which I have not done in a long time. So I just Sysma and my rig, and I got to go. Here's the big thing, though. I got to see his name's Sam Frybush, I believe. On Instagram, he's Fly Fry.
That's a great name.
His organ trio that featured Charlie Hunter on guitar. Now, if you people do not know who Charlie Hunter is, oh my gosh. One of the, I will say, top 5 bass players alive is a guitar player, and his name is Charlie Hunter.
Dude.
I mean, he is a freak of nature, one of the funkiest humans on earth. He played 2 or 3 songs on D'Angelo Voodoo, which is my favorite album ever. Like a notable one is he had a big hand in Spanish Joint. And a lot of people, they'll attribute all the bass lines to Pino Palladino, who's my favorite bass player. Like, I make no qualms about. I love Pino. But Charlie Hunter played bass and guitar at the same time on I think 12-string guitar.
Yeah.
Like 2 pickups. The bass strings had their own pickup, went to their own amp. The guitar strings went to their own amp. So no one would reasonably know that one guy is playing both of these things at the same time.
So and crazy.
It is disgusting. Like, great pocket. Oh my gosh. Look up Charlie Hunter if you haven't. Listen to D'Angelo Voodoo if you're in the mood for that, but also his like solo jazz stuff. And there's my other favorite thing he did was a jazz album thing called Super Blue with Kurt Elling. I think it's Elling is his name. And it is just nasty. It is so good. Anyway, all that to say, I did not expect to meet one of the guys that is like so formative to me that I was like, okay, I want to play music and take this seriously. I mean, it's Pino and it's D'Angelo and it's Charlie Hunter. And I got to meet him. He was super cool. Apparently he lives in Greensboro, North Carolina now, like his post New York era. So it was kind of a hometown show for him. So I was just lucky that I scrambled my way over to say something. And then by chance, he showed up at our second set that we played and watched us play for a minute. And like, I mean, like, just, I don't know, amazing moment. Got to talk with him a few times again. And like, I don't know, it's one of those like, do you want to meet your musical heroes kind of thing? What if they are huge jerks? Right. He was the nicest guy. He was just so cool to talk to. So that was my, I don't know, great experience of the weekend. Yeah. So I think we'll start to wrap this little Riverside FM experiment up. Now that Nick's in Nashville, we're going to be using this kind of a different software to record. So if there's any weirdness, we apologize. We're getting used to it. I think it'll be nice for when we have a guest. So me, Nick, and a guest. And we're working on it. And honestly, we have a couple good ones in the hopper.
The old hopper.
Yeah, the old hopper. I don't want to give it away too much yet. Things can always fall through, blah, 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 blah. But
give it away.
Yeah, I want to continue to do this. I don't know. I don't want to say it in a weird way. There are a lot of guys and girls that don't get, that no one really champions them, that they are doing great work. Yeah, they might not be on a stadium tour situation, but they are doing some really cool, interesting things. Or you know what? Some of them are on huge stadium tours, and you wouldn't know who it is necessarily. They're not looking for the brand deals. They're not looking for the whatever. They're just making their music and dipping. And I want to continue to find those really cool, interesting people to talk to, especially if they approach the instrument a little bit different than your typical musician. So hopefully we can keep attracting those kind of artists, because I think we have something unique in some of the people we feature and the conversations we have, and we want to keep being pretty diverse. So, I mean, honestly, I can think of, we've probably got 5 potential guests in the hopper that are all going to be really cool people to talk to. I would also encourage, if you made it this far in the podcast, you're a real one. Just if I would say give it a chance. I feel like everyone, like all the listeners have been cool to listen to artists that are kind of represented outside of a genre that you might normally go home and listen to, kind of thing. Give them a chance. Like every person that comes on, they're coming on because they're cool, and they're coming on because they have something cool to say. And like, we actually haven't featured really anybody in the metal scene or something like that. Maybe Idols is the closest with like heavy music, but those people have something really cool and interesting to say, and we wouldn't be having the conversation with them and our audience largely if we didn't think they were dope. So like, I don't care if it's a guy from a church band or a guy from a metal band in a dive bar or whatever. We're working really hard to kind of curate these interesting conversations that you might not hear other places. And I think that is kind of our bread and butter. Like that's what we're going for. We're trying to do something a little bit different and not just kind of regurgitate the same crap. And we might have a crossover episode or episodes with some other bass creators coming up. So I'm trying to workshop that one. I think it will be the best bass podcast ever. Something, we'll have to roll it up and hype it up. I think it'll be awesome. So
beautiful.
Thanks for listening to us, Gab. We appreciate it. We appreciate you listening. And we will see you next time.
Peace.
Peace.